everybody to the talk show Amstelveen for Everybody, hosted by RTV Amstelveen, the first English-speaking talk show that we have. It's a talk show for everyone who does not speak Dutch here in Amstelveen, so that they know what's happening in their local community. Tonight on the table, we have the local parties that are standing up for elections for, well, on the 16th of March, the local elections are taking place. So we're going to be in conversation with them. Why should you come out and vote? Why should you vote for them? And what questions do you have? We've been doing a survey, so we've got enough to ask them. Firstly, I want to say that as of the 14th of March till the 16th of March, you can go out and vote. There are a record number, 186 candidates and 12 parties to choose from. You need to pick a party and a candidate that's right for you, that speaks to you as well. At home, you would have received an envelope. This is your stempas. You can go to the local voting stations and put your vote in. There'll be a huge ballot over there with all the party members that you can choose from, and you just put a little, I would say, a red cross in which you think is the right one. Now, you must be wondering who is eligible to vote. So, everyone above the age of 18 is eligible to vote here in Amstelveen. Now, if you are a non-Dutch or a non-EU resident, you should have lived in the Netherlands for at least 5 years with a residence permit. You should be above the age of 18 years old, and you should have registered with Amstelveen as a gemeente to be living here before the 31st of January 2022. If you've got all of this in order, you can come out and vote. We really encourage you to come out and vote. Make sure that your voice is heard and that you know what you want. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really excited that you're here. This is the first time that we're holding such a discussion. I don't want to say debate because I still want us to leave here with smiles. So, with me on table, we have Kees Noomen from PvdA, which is translated in English as a liberal party. However, I do want to say that this is nothing like what you have in the States or in the UK. It's just a literal translation that we've taken. He's number 3 on the list. Then we have Esther Veenboer from the Labour Party or the PvdA. Again, the Labour Party is nothing like you have in the UK. It's just a literal translation. She's the chair of this political party as well. And then we have Huisman. Welcome. She's for Burgerbelangen Amstelveen, which literally translates as Citizens Interest Amstelveen. Beautiful name, in fact. A local party here in Amstelveen. Then we have Floor Gordon from D66, which is literally translated as Democratic 66. Again, she's a current alderman within the municipality of Amstelveen. Now, the first question I have to ask all of you, and it's very serious. How are your chutzpah making skills?
Oh boy.
Quite good at it, actually.
Yeah.
I haven't made it this year, but
Okay.
No, I cannot
do make
cook
it.
and I choose Italian wife because I never want to eat hotspot anymore, which I never did. So
You're looking at a shocked face too.
Yeah.
Because I was so happy to discover different cuisines as I grew up.
True.
So I rarely make hutspots, but every now and then, once a year at least.
Yeah.
Once a year.
And
I
Kitty?
have no idea how to make it, and I hate it.
Oh my
I'll
God.
never eat it.
You know,
only the
this.
smell already is disgusting. So
Oh, I'm really disappointed. I'll tell you why. Because in our second episode, I'm cooking chutzpah for the first time.
so good.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You can
But it's not
probably
that bad.
help find someone to make you do it.
My
All right.
husband likes it, actually.
you can skip all the questions.
Yeah. All right, I'll just move on very swiftly. But okay, we've broken the ice a little bit. I'm really glad. I think the first question that I do want to ask you guys is, how important is it for you that the international, or let's say the non-Dutch speaking community comes out and vote? Let's start with you, Kees.
It's important that everybody make his vote. Yeah, not only the international but also local people. But Amstelveen has a history of being an expat community for many, many years. I mean, the PvdA is a big party in Amstelveen for many, many years. We built up the expat community. We're proud of it, and we want to keep it. So it's important to show your face, to participate, and also tell us what we don't do good. We always can do better. I think we do many things we do good, but I mean, everybody should vote. So even the local people, but especially international people.
Well, same here, you know, the international community is actually 20% of our total population. So And also the decisions we make in municipal council affect all our citizens. So it affects the international community as well. And our parties, social democratic party, is an international movement. So we've always been very open and welcoming to other cultures and new people in our community. So we welcome them, and please go out and vote. Very important.
Kitty.
Yeah, it's very important for our party as well. We actually even have 2 expats on our candidate list. So it's definitely extremely important. We're all Amstelveeners and everybody's voice should be heard. You're all part of the community. So yeah, make your voice count. Yeah.
Floor.
Yeah, same here. Everyone should go out and vote because everyone is involved in their local community. Everyone has an idea of how things can be made better, from trash to bigger themes. I'm very proud of the fact that Amstelveen historically is such an international city. We've grown on it. And Esther is mentioning 20% of our inhabitants is international, but 46% have a non-Dutch background, which includes, for instance, my husband. He is American, but also has Dutch nationality, and then you fall into that group. But yeah, it's an international community, and everyone should be equally involved in local politics. And we don't often see that on the city council, so we have a role in making that voice heard.
Very good. So, I mean, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Go out and vote.
Yeah.
I think it can't be clearer. They all want you to vote. They want your voice to be heard, and it's through them that we heard.
Your vote matters.
Yep, your vote definitely matters. Kitty, I want to ask you, in the last 4 years, what is it that PvdA has achieved in general, not only for the international community, but what have you done for Amstelveen?
Well, we are not a party that aims for the big headlines. So we will always support and initiate improvements for Amstelveeners, for groups that for groups with special needs, for example, groups that don't usually get prioritized, like the elderly. We have done quite a few things for that. We always try to improve local facilities, neighborhoods. We are very in favor of participation. So on several occasions in the last 4 years, people who lived in a neighborhood where big developments were going to be planned were very concerned and very worried about that. So they contacted us, and we listened to them, and we prevented actually from a couple of projects being developed because it was not right for the neighborhood.
Yeah. And what you're saying is that, you know, your PvdA is there for all Amstelveen, you know,
Yes,
irrespective of your background. I've also, you know, read also your motto. I think it's very gripping. Now, my question is, during COVID, where was PvdA? What were they doing for the Amstelveeners that were really in need?
Well, you have to give me a little bit of leeway because I'm relatively new to the party.
I understand.
I'm involved for nearly a year now, so I joined actually during the COVID period. I know that PvdA was very much in favor of helping people who needed, like small businesses or entrepreneurs or who needed support. So that's definitely something that we were in favor of. Yeah, sorry, I lost your question a bit.
No problem. No, I just wanted to know, PvdA being a party for Amstelveen itself,
Yes.
you know, during COVID time, all of us have suffered. There was a question directly that said, what did PvdA do for Amstelveeners?
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Well, that's as I say, I know that we were definitely supporting all the help that was given to the council for people in need, and but for me that's a difficult question to answer because I wasn't politically involved in that stage. So
we can only hope that going forward, actually, that
definitely,
PvdA
because as I said, we are there for all Amstelveeners, and specifically the groups that need help, and that everybody has to have equal opportunities.
Indeed.
So that's what we stand for. We represent all citizens' interests. I mean, yeah, that's why we're a local and independent party. We have no national agenda. We're only here for Amstelveen.
Yeah. So when we think about equal opportunities, we frequently think of PvdA, so the Labour Party, as so to say. I think the same question stems for you. During COVID time, You know, what did you see that was happening with the Amstelveeners, and how did PvdA, you know, help them?
Well, we helped initiate the 8 packages that were worked out by the council together with the bench of aldermen in Amstelveen, and I think our alderman Marijn van Ballengooien reached out to the community as well. He was everywhere and seeing where he could help and support initiatives.
And in the last 4 years, what would you say is your biggest achievement?
Well, there are a couple, but one I would say we're very proud of is the local debt assistance. It actually was rated with a very high mark by people who were assisted by it, and I think an 8.1 on a scale of 10, which is quite high. So we were able to help people sooner and make shorten periods that they are in debt. Right. So I think that's a very lovely achievement because it helps people's daily lives.
Of course.
We had extra programs for informal carers to support them more and more. We started a program on dementia, a national pilot of which Amstelveen could be a part of, which is not for many cities, but we are a part of it.
Yep.
So I think many social driven initiatives were or either initiated or really appreciated by us.
Perfect. I think Kees and Floor, the question for you is because, I mean, Floor, you look at economische zaken, so the economics behind Amstelveen, and PvdA is probably there for entrepreneurs. Again, COVID, it's something that we're just getting out of the woods. I'll give each one of you, time to answer it. What do you think that the entrepreneurs struggled with, and how did you help them, and how are you going to help them moving forward as well, getting out of this transition of COVID? And let's hope that everything continues to open up and we can live the way that we used to. Kees, maybe I'll give it first to you.
Yes, I think first of all what we could do locally, it's limited. Huh? I mean, we created, because the 3 of us, we are, let's say, the local government, and what we did, we created together, also with all the parties, a fund, as an aid fund for 15 million. And but we did it on top of what the government already did, and the government did a lot, support of salaries and support of fixed costs. Yep. And I think most people were in trouble. They got so much support from our national government, and we should be very happy we can do that in a country like this. We pay a lot of tax here, but on the other hand, we got a lot of support. If you see the northern countries, maybe Belgium, Switzerland, Germany, and the Scandinavian countries, they make 8 packages, and we're very proud. And on top of that, we created a fund for people in trouble and companies in trouble in Amstelveen. And we had enough reserve to create 15 million, just like that. And all parties, every party in Amstelveen, they supported that. And it's not even finished yet at your floor. I mean, you know probably the figures better than I do. But I think we spent only 10, 11 million. So there's still some money left. So people in trouble, we are there to help them.
Absolutely. Fleur?
Yeah, I sit here as the party leader for the D66, but I've had the fortunate role of being able to govern this city on a day-to-day basis as an alderman. So I was very much involved as part of my job, my day job. As the alderman of economic affairs, COVID changed a lot, because before COVID, basically we spent a lot of time focusing on community building, connecting. We were celebrating festivals like Diwali. There was a lot of happiness in economic affairs. It was a lot about, making a strong economy by connecting people. And then COVID happened and everyone went back into their shells and was really worried about what was going on. Yeah. So there was a lot of speaking to local entrepreneurs, but also the international companies, because they, faced some great challenges too initially. A lot of their staff was still either located internationally and couldn't come. But I've also spoken to a lot of people from, for instance, the Japanese community who haven't seen their families in nearly 2 years because they have not been able to return, which takes a toll on people. Indeed. And also on the companies. So what have we done? I mean, together as a city council, we supported a lot. But I think what we mostly showed is that the international companies here and also local entrepreneurs are not just here, part of the city. They mean a lot to us. Mm-hmm. And the interconnectedness has become even more evident, and not through parties, but because we need each other. Yep. So it's been a heartwarming experience as well, but very tough.
And where do you... What do you hope to achieve in the coming 4 years in general, not only for entrepreneurs, but in general?
Yeah, well, one thing that, I mean, if you'd ask me Kitty's question, one thing I'm also proud of and something we would like to continue is in the last 4 years we invested a lot in education, in the Dutch schools or in all school buildings, about 100 million, but also in building a public international school that is affordable for our international community, because we have 2 amazing international schools, but not everyone can afford them. And now we have a public one for people who want to stay here a number of years, but not permanently. So they would like to have their children, you know, not learn Dutch, which is a wonderful language, by the way, but go to school in English. And I think we want to continue that because we see that we're becoming increasingly international. So you want to accommodate that. But there's also a group of people that go to a regular Dutch school because they aim to stay. And that also involves, you know, we need to get involved in that.
Yeah.
So a lot of our focus the coming years is on education, on language, on making information accessible through multiple languages. And then if you look at, you know, the D66 party in general, 2 other main focus points for us are sustainability, because the climate affects us all, and that's an international topic, I would say.
Yeah.
And better housing, and I think we can all agree on that. The housing market is super tight, and we need to do a lot in that too, and also equal opportunity to get there. And one of the things that and then I will stop talking, give others the opportunity, is internationals face a lot of discrimination still when they come to the international housing market. That is something we need to stop. It cannot be that you cannot get a house just because, you know, the real estate agent, you know, says, oh, we don't want someone from wherever, whether it's India or somewhere else. We cannot have it. We want to be a welcoming city. That means equal opportunity for everyone and hospitality.
So, I mean, this is a really good point, especially, you know, education that you're talking about, and you've touched upon it, and as well as housing. I'm going to come back to that definitely. I think it's really important that PvdA, being a local party, you know, it doesn't sit in the city council at the moment. You know, we can only hope maybe this year you do. What is it that you hope to achieve and want to achieve in the coming 4 years?
Well, do you mean especially for the international community or
Just
in general?
Let's start in general, and then we can always hone down to the international community.
Yeah, well, it's very important for us to, what's always high on the list is the civic participation. We want to get more people involved. We want to get that better organized and with the right expectation management of the project, of the process as well. And that also goes for the international community. We want to, that's also why we're here. We want to get get the whole community, which is very diverse and comes from very different backgrounds, much more involved. Also, it's growing. It's very important to stay in touch with and get an idea of what your issues and what the needs are of the community. And we can only do that by, for example, providing also more materials in English and not just in Dutch, because that's a real problem. We also have a translation of our program on the website available as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
And otherwise, what we want to achieve for the coming 4 years is we definitely also have all the main issues, of course, as well as climate change. We are very much always have been in favor of green. We need a lot more green. We want to maintain our neighborhoods livable and pleasant for everybody. For all the Amstelveeners, we want equal opportunities for everybody and no difference in opportunities in the areas. And well, it's a whole list. I can keep talking and talking.
No, of course. No, that's, I mean, so I think what I take out of this is, and especially my first and foremost follow-up question to that would be, how is it that you're reaching out to the community? What mediums and channels are you using? How do people find you?
Well, that's a very good question, because that is what's probably very difficult for most parties. How do you really organize the participation, and how do you keep communicating? What we really find very important is investing in the neighborhoods. Right. We want to really invest more in the local community centers, because they provide a lot of possibilities for social connectivity within the neighborhoods. So that's very important. Work with neighborhood coaches to have, when there are issues in a neighborhood, it's very important to meet each other and to understand each other and to respect each other and to make together make life nice in the neighborhood. So that's a very important way to get in touch with people.
Perfect, thanks. Esther, actually the question was very similar that came out, was how does the Labour Party, PvdA, how do you reach out to the community? How is it that your outreach is going, and how do people find you, and what conversations are you actually having?
Well, there's lots of means. Of course, there's social media. During COVID, it was more difficult to reach out to people because you couldn't actually meet people. But the thing is, we organized a couple of sessions, online sessions, Zoom sessions, and there we discussed certain topics that were, we were interested in people's, and it turned out that a lot of new people actually attended those sessions who would maybe normally not come to a community center where we would be asking them to come and come and discuss things with us. So that was very interesting that changed it. So we're still thinking about maybe keeping digital meetings next to our physical meetings in a way, because sometimes it's easier for people to join. Well, we have an alderman who is very visible in the city, Marijn van Ballengooien, and also I think in the expat community. So that helps, and we regularly go through neighborhoods and speak to people, which, well, during COVID was a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
And actually what we initiated about 2 years ago was the round table talks. It was embraced by the whole community, but it was our initiative. And the colorful, we called it colorful, kleurrijk ontmoeten, colorful meeting. And it was actually directed at getting to know each other better, different cultures, different backgrounds. And it was really successful when it started early 2020. Yeah. And then COVID hit. So we couldn't continue those meetings in that setup. And we're really looking forward to starting that up again. Because I think that's such a powerful way of getting to know each other and taking away the fear of what is going on.
Indeed. I think a follow-up question I have for you is, during COVID, what became really apparent is the healthcare system. I mean, not only in the Netherlands, but also in Amstelveen. There, amongst the internationals versus the Dutch healthcare system, there's such a cultural shock, I would say, and a cultural gap. And as time goes on, this gap is only getting wider. And of course, the consensus around it, many of the times, while it's a fine healthcare system to go to, it's really difficult to communicate your concerns and get the help that you need. That the international community is now looking for workarounds. What are your thoughts on this?
Let me see if I really understand what you're asking me. I sometimes watch these videos on YouTube, and there's this Dutch guy who asks expats questions on typical Dutch things. And he also asks them about the healthcare system. And they usually say, well, when you go to the doctor, he always say, take 2 paracetamol, it'll go away.
Indeed.
I want a cure.
Yeah.
And that's already one big difference, because, well, we think, okay, well, take 2 paracetamol, stay at home for a day, and then I'm okay. Because we're used to that. Right. But if you're not used to that, and many other countries, drugs are easier prescribed, or prescription medicine is easier prescribed, or sooner. You expect that, so that's already a difference. So if that's what you mean, I think that's a cultural thing. We need to talk about it.
Absolutely.
If there's anything else, something else you mean, like what are they looking for?
This is one big culture shock, right? I mean, you go to a doctor, you know your body the best. Yeah. I'm not well, and if all you hear is, "Oh, please take a paracetamol and sleep for 2 days," you just think, "Well, this was a waste of my time." Right? Like, I could have prescribed this by myself, and if you go to the doctor 3 times, you're already, by the 4th time, you're like, I'm not even bothering anymore. Yeah. But this is kind of worrying, because over here, your GP is your gatekeeper as well. True. To your health, physical health, as well as your mental health. True. Right? And on top of that, what you see is you can't prescribe drugs, or they're not easily as prescribed. True. There's a cultural gap, so there's also sometimes a communication gap, because then there's a resistance now to go to your doctor, and you just say, you know what, I'm just going to go and consult with the medical system from my current country of origin. That's a concern.
True.
There's some interesting developments. Obviously, with my American husband, we faced this a number of times where the expectations were different.
Yeah.
One thing that we have in Amstelveen, and that also makes us so attractive, especially for the Japanese community, is that the Amsterdam ziekenhuis or hospital has a special section, special Japanese section, because the way they approach medicine and people is very different from ours, and it is very successful and it works quite well. So I think you have to look at both accommodating the newcomers, the internationals that are here, as well as educating the internationals in how we are different in approaching healthcare. It works two ways.
It means dialogue. You have to
Dialogue,
talk about it.
yeah.
But you're doing it for the Japanese community because, of course, there's also a language barrier there. But then you have other communities where there's no language barrier. Why are we not doing something to facilitate that, or maybe educate our medical centers, our doctors about maybe not, also closing that gap that they might have and taking a different approach.
A discussion like that could be part of that colorful dialogue scheme on expectations on healthcare.
Absolutely.
Maybe with healthcare professionals and our international community could be a very good thing.
Involve them more. I mean, they're not part of the local government, but we as a local government have an opinion on many topics that we don't actually are in charge of.
Right.
I believe Amsterdam ziekenhuis is very much working on expanding their service, also thinking about other groups they can help. But when you think of your local, your general pediatrician, your GP, I think there is definitely work to be done. At the same time, I also see that even our, for instance, dental staff, if you go to the dentist, he's often already from Brazil or anywhere. So it's amazing how international we even are locally.
Right. Yeah.
So
great. So, Kees, I read something in the news about PvdA, and I thought it was very...
Oh my God.
No, but it was really great.
No.
There was a strong look and a discussion around the security for the Jewish community here in Amstelveen. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, there's quite a large number of Jewish people in Amstelveen, and we cherish that also because they're also, let's say, international. But they also have a lot of problems. Still, I mean, we already spoke about it. That some people don't like to live here, or they even don't. Some girls they don't even dare to go to school on the bicycles. You see Jewish schools, they still have security in the morning. Also the Jewish shul, synagogue, they also have security. So we have to address that, all the time. And even now we have to address it more. So we keep on doing it for many, many years. It's not that only we do it, their parties also doing it, you do it, everybody does that. And we cannot forget that. I mean, it's only, you see, even today, what's happening in the world, it's only 75 years ago what happened, and we can never forget that. So we always attentive on that topic and keeping asking attention for it.
Yeah. But this is now where I get a little bit hard-hitting.
Okay.
1 in 5 residents in Amstelveen are from a, let's say, international or non-Dutch background, at least.
Yeah.
And we're saying that we, the Jewish community, they need more security. We need to engage with them more. They need to feel safe in their environment completely. However, there are other communities here in Amstelveen that need that same attention. What are we doing for that?
Now, I don't get signals they have the same problem, but basically we ask for, when we get signals like that, of course we will react immediately, but we don't have the same like we have with Jewish people. If you say so, I believe you, but I don't get signals, maybe others got, but I haven't heard it.
We asked questions. At the beginning of the COVID crisis, we noticed that people with an Asian background encountered more discrimination.
Correct.
So we asked questions to the alderman, what can we do to help that?
I mean, the Jews have a history.
How much discrimination
indeed.
encounter.
But discrimination is one thing, but Jews have, of course, a history with what happened with the Holocaust not so many years ago.
No. Anti-Semitism is a special breed, I agree. At the same time, we cannot tolerate any of it. And I think the question is, if you face it with other communities, will you respond to that? And I think everyone at this table will say, yes, we will. how can we also prevent it? I think by talking much more to each other. When does it happen? Where does it happen? How does it
How often?
show itself? Is that in the housing market? Is it at school? Is it on the street? Because you can only act in the right way if you know where it's taking place. So people need to actually make
Complaint or come forward.
Yeah.
So then I have a
Reach out to
step
the
forward.
politicians
Yeah.
and
So
come
I do
forward.
have a
But we
challenge.
also have to make
No.
that possible.
Yeah.
It's both ways,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to find a way to interact with each other and
Exactly.
to get these things
But
in
even
the
if
open.
you don't want to bring it out in the open, we have a meldpunt discriminatie, a place where
Yeah.
people can go if they really feel, things are not right, and that will be registered and part of the documents that we also get as a city council. To think about better measures, but just being part of such an international community, our role is to be that welcoming city. We want to be that welcoming city, and that puts a burden on us to make sure it's a safe place to
Definitely.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's why we also still
Responsibility.
attract a lot of internationals. I mean,
Absolutely.
we have this international image. People want to come here because they feel safe. And of course, when we get signals, we will definitely react. But so far, more people want to come and live here. Also, younger students, they all want to study here
Yeah.
because they basically they feel safe. But if there are signals, definitely we have to we come forward and to take measures. Definitely.
So I think there's a challenge that I'd like to put here on the table where you say that there are no signals, but I know when I read the news here in Amstelveen, there are entrepreneurs that have businesses over here that are targeted frequently. And so then again, this question comes out from the community. We have not heard any of the political parties or candidates or speak out against it or take action against it.
We did speak out against it a while ago, and we will keep speaking out against it. And if we've missed some signals, we may have, then we're sorry, but we're gonna fight against it, and so we'll fight with them.
I remember a
It's
case
just-
in the Kostverloren of Bankrashof with a grocery shop.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we reacted
And the
immediately at the same
Koude
thing.
Doorman, and there's a number of places.
Lindelaan as well.
There's a
Lindelaan.
number of places, but it's a tough cookie because
Yeah.
it doesn't just go away. Even if we speak out, it simmers and it comes back.
True.
Because if people are racist, it doesn't go away easily. So it takes repetitive attention,
Yeah.
which takes a burden on people. I can see that too, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you're bullied out. Super, super hard. But keep reaching out, and we need to keep making those statements because it's just you need to have a zero tolerance policy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely clear.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about discrimination. We have, let's say, a crisis going on, and that's the increase in housing prices, not only here in Amstelveen, but in all of the Netherlands. But you have that here in Amstelveen when it comes to buying a house as well as renting. Now, there are a couple of questions that I would like to ask on this, but the first question that's on everybody's mind is what, as you, as political party leaders, are thinking about the increase in housing prices here in Amstelveen. How can we stabilize that, or is there a plan for it?
I mean, it's a very difficult question because it's not only Amstelveen, it's not only the Netherlands, it's worldwide. We have a very, very low interest rate. We have limited space, not only Amstelveen but also in the Netherlands. I mean, in Berlin it's the same thing, Paris is the same thing, London is the same thing. So we're not going to solve it in Amstelveen. I mean, we're building a lot of houses. I mean, especially Floor, and even when no, because it's her portfolio. But and we even go higher, and then you see, I mean, parties like PvdA, they object. I mean, we also have many people. They're happy to be building houses, and we going in. We have to go up sometimes on certain places, but it's not easy.
We object because we want to build in balance. We have eye for the
understand.
neighborhood.
Yeah, okay, but it's not easy because we have people object, and we have people they're happy with it. I mean, I have 4 children, and you have a lot of children.
Half of what you have.
and as parents, you always want to have your children, let's say, close to you, maybe in Amstelveen, and it's not easy. I mean, my wife is also complained to me all the time. Do something, yeah. And it's extremely difficult because the space is limited, and the ground is very expensive, and it's not our ground because of other people, and they want to have a very high price for the ground, and building is expensive. And probably when the interest rates goes up one day, then and we will be building more houses in the Netherlands, then probably it will the price will drop one day.
But there are some things we are doing already. Yeah, well, we just well, it will be implemented, I think, from the summer.
April.
That's it, or yeah, and then that when you buy a house, you have to live in it yourself. You can't no speculation with the house. So all those kind of measures are being implemented. Is it enough? I don't think so. I think we need to build more, but we are implementing measures to prevent it.
So, Kitty, where does BBA stand on this?
Well, it's not just building more, but it's also making sure that the right people live in the right house. That's another thing. That's the challenge. How do you get people who live on their own, who are have no longer have their children at home? How do you make sure that they move to a house that's more suitable for them and where that's affordable? So you have to make sure that you have. Well, we are in favor of building, definitely, but for the right people and. For the right amount of money as well. Sorry, I lost your initial question.
My initial question was that there's the housing market is increasing, or like there's a big demand for it, especially in Amstelveen. You know, how can we tackle it, or is there a plan to tackle it?
To a certain extent. There are some, of course, new developments being built. There are new houses coming available. So. There is some sort of, and that there will be more houses coming up for sale, available, sorry. But we as BBA, we do say there is a limit to what we can build for the coming future. We say there is a limit to 110,000 inhabitants at the moment. And that's also Amstelveen, you come and live in Amstelveen because you enjoy what Amstelveen has to offer. There is an Amstelveen way of life. It's with the green, the facilities, everything it's really pleasant to be, and that goes for a lot of people who come from an international background as well. They enjoy being here. My husband is English, for example, and he sees Amstelveen as the ideal village life.
Right.
And in order to maintain that, if you keep on building, then at some point you lose that. You lose that special feeling that Amstelveen has with the green and all the other sports facilities, etc. So it's a very difficult balance. But BBA thinks that we have to make sure that we have enough houses available for certain groups. We have to make sure that the teachers and the policemen and women and people who work in healthcare, that they have to be able to live in Amstelveen. So we have to make sure we build affordable houses as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Floor, you had a really good point about discrimination, and there's first rental and there's buying. So let's touch upon the buying part of it. Frequently what you read, especially on social media, is house prices are going up, and the internationals are to blame for this.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, what can be done to get rid of this stereotype? Because they're also being targeted, you know.
They face the same challenges in the housing market that we do. They come here with a family, they look for a house, more often than they used to, they buy a house. And so they're also competing in the same market, and they move in, and then basically others say, oh, it's at the cost of a Dutch person. That's not how it works. We invited them to come here to strengthen our economy, to fill in jobs that we cannot fill in, and to build this very strong, country that we have, which is built on international trade. So we need to be honest about that. So if we invite companies and people to come here, they also have an equal opportunity at the housing market. And so you asked the question, what can we do about this housing market? And Kees was very, realistic about it. Our options are limited. There's a lot that needs to be done in the taxes, in the banking system, in national policies, and then there's a market too. And, we touched upon all of that. But within what we can do, you can build houses, so add to your market. And we say it can be done in Amstelveen very well with actually adding green and more quality, more services. So you need to do that in balance with schools, with doctors, with all the facilities that we need here. But it can be done, and we've done a research, where can we build in Amstelveen? And to me, it's not about how many inhabitants is it, it's about the quality that's leading. But we have spaces to go to 150, even more inhabitants. The question is, where do you feel like it ends? And I think what we've done in the last 4 years is protect the valuable parts of Amstelveen by saying we're not going to build high rises in the old parts of Amstelveen, the old villages, but there are places where it's very suitable. And now what we need to do is make sure that they don't become overpriced. And we have some tools now, thanks to the national government, that allow us to limit middle income housing, which we use to the max. We make sure that for at least 20 years it cannot rise to over certain prices, so it remains affordable. And then of course part of it is social housing too, but very often internationals are not eligible for that. Right. But we do what we can to regulate a market that is just overheated.
Yeah. Self-occupancy is a very good instrument for it.
Absolutely.
Actually, we got to blame the last few years because we still built so many nice houses, rental, that we only were building for expats, because that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
because the rental price was between 15 and 2,000, and people, let's say, are international people, they have probably better salaries and deeper pockets, so they can easily afford it.
Correct.
So
that's another prejudice, because that's often not true. It's
often not
in
true.
Amsterdam, which is the first place where new international incomers come to register, researches this on a regular basis. And the idea that we have that the internationals make much more money is simply not correct. Right. So we need to also let go of our ideas. It's not true. Yeah.
Yep. And you know, that was of course the buyer's market. Kees, you touched on a very good point, which is the renters.
Yeah.
You know, of course, internationals also feel a discrimination there, in various ways, that they're not being rented out to because they're internationals, but also their neighborhood, or let's say the neighbors around them, sometimes the PvdA, so the, I don't actually know the English word for the PvdA.
Yeah, membership of
owners association. Yeah. They're also discriminatory. I mean, what is your response to that? How can we tackle that? What is the role that, you know, politics can play in this, or the gemeente can play in this, the municipality can play in this?
Yeah, that's private law, of course. I mean, we cannot do so much in public law. I mean, it's the first time I hear this, that, I mean, international discriminated to get houses. I mean...
yeah, very much so. Yes. I mean,
social houses, I can understand, because they don't have the right income probably, and they so have to go to the free market. But
it's based on you know, very mundane things like, we do not like Indian cooking because of the smell. True. Or they must stay up late at night. There's a lot of misconceptions there too that I think you can bridge if you once again communicate. And it's funny, I mean, so I live in a wonderful street where we have a lot of internationals. My neighbors are from Romania, Russia, I'm trying to think of the order, Israel, Argentina, and then there's some Dutch people again. And on the other side, I can make a similar row of people. We go to each other's houses and have dinner together, and very often very intercultural dinners, because everyone brings their own home foods. It's a wonderful tradition. But it also builds understanding on how things work and what maybe your neighbor finds annoying, which could happen to a Dutch neighbor as well. I mean, if they stay up late at night making lots of music, I mean...
Or have lots of children running up and down.
So, but I do want to stress, luckily, most of us live very happily together. And discrimination is still not like that abundant. It's too much, and every part of it is too much. But let's also focus on all those people that are warm and welcoming and want to make Amstelveen a nice place to live for everyone. Because if we focus on that, hopefully that's what we can build together.
Well, each case is one too many.
Of course.
Let's make that completely clear. But I think that Floor is right, that in general, we are a welcoming city.
Correct.
But, you know, all the bad things, we have to keep discussing it and keep standing up against it.
It's
sometimes speaking out against it.
It's difficult too for people who have lived in Amstelveen for very long, don't often speak English or another language. that they just don't feel so much at home anymore in their own city. And we have to be mindful of that too. If your whole street becomes international and you cannot communicate, you
true.
feel like the outcast.
You start to feel unsafe in your own neighborhood.
Yeah, and so we have to
It's about
be
balance.
honest about that too. So it is, yeah, it's balance. Thank you.
But
what
what
if-
communication, of course, get to know each other.
Yeah, but it's difficult if you don't speak each other's language. But you know, you can find ways around it. There's someone who can translate. We have to keep making the effort to get to know each other. Hence our initiative, the colorful round table. This
Which has
dialogues.
become Amstelveen Connected.
Yeah.
And it's quite, it's working quite well
Yeah.
and a wonderful way to meet one another.
And what about those internationals that are renting, and when they finish their tenancy in a rental home, and frequently or not, there's always a discussion with the landlord about getting a deposit back, about some kind of quarrel. Where can these people go? Because now you're just hearing it increase like every year, and every month it's becoming more and more. And like I say, the homeowners association sometimes are bullying these people out of their homes. Some people who even bought, they're bullying. Where can Amstelveeners go that they can feel safe and they can say action needs to be taken against this?
That's a very good question. That's
Yeah.
not an
No,
easy
but
one
there's-
either.
there's-
Social housing. We
there's-
have Woon,
Yeah.
which is it's an
That's
organization
Yeah.
that assists people who live in social housing. But for the free rental market, I don't think we have a similar organization, which I think is something
it's a
else.
rental committee, it's a U committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rental committee maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite sure. It's
And,
Good-
and not
good
every
point.
tenant is, not every owner is that awful to its tenants. But I also hear that sometimes they want international people to rent because it's very easy to cut the contracts. It gives
Yeah.
them a lot of liberty. That's not, you should give everyone, equal contracts with a fair amount of time,
And not returning deposits,
Yeah.
for example. You hear this quite
But
frequently.
the local government is very strict with it right now. I mean, they do a lot of controls. I mean, you can easily complain to the city hall, and they have many controlleurs. They check it all the time. I mean, we got a letter last week from the college about it. So they're really keen on it. So I mean, even a simple email or a call to the city hall, they will respond immediately.
Brilliant.
Quite
Reach out
sure.
to your council members.
Yeah.
Please.
Great.
And that's why they should vote.
Yes.
For that reason.
Get out to vote. Yeah.
Which is, all right, actually, this question is for everyone individually as well. Do you think enough is being done to bring all Amstelveeners together? Kees, let's start with you.
You probably never have done enough. You can always do more, but I think what we do, Amstelveen has an international image. You feel at home here. If you go to the website of the city hall, it's in English. If you go to the library, they have courses in English, in Spanish, in any language. I mean, the reason we have, when I was young, the biggest community was Japanese, and after a few years it was Chinese or Korean. Now the Indian community is the largest one. They're still coming more. Probably they like it here. If I go to my work in the morning and I see at the bus, I see probably only Indian people there, and they come here because they feel at home. When I walk with the dogs, I see only Indian walking in my street, and they're walking together, and so I think we do something good, and and we can always do more. And we have a big festival.
Yep.
Corona is really over, then probably there will be more festivals. We have the Cherry Blossom Festival. You cannot name it, and we do it here, and that's us. People still will come to Amstelveen, I think, for that reason.
So really quickly around the table for the rest as well.
Yeah, well, I think it's along the lines that Kees is mentioning. You can probably always do more.
Right.
But I think we're really trying, and I think Amstelveen Connected, the dialogue, it's working. We should have more attention for that.
Brilliant. Katie, anything else you'd like to add?
I think there is more to do, and this is the first time that this is happening, for example, which is a great start on a long road and a long journey that we have to develop together.
Right. Yep.
We have
Maybe
to keep
invite politicians more often for a
Absolutely.
discussion like
yeah,
this.
definitely, and
More cooking, maybe.
yeah.
Flora?
Well, so what we can do, and that's very easy, you can make your own election program in English. Yeah, Esther has
Done
it
the
too.
same. But
We have it online.
Yeah,
as
it's
well,
important to show people, in that sense we're welcoming. And all the other things we do is to emphasize the importance of the connectedness. But it takes two to tango.
Correct.
It's very, very important for everyone who comes here, who doesn't feel quite at home, just talk to your neighbor if you don't just want to come to a local politician, but they can also perhaps help you on your way. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
All right, last question for the evening. I'm going to give everyone 45 seconds to pitch. Why should we vote for? Ready for it? PvdA. Why should we vote for you?
For fair, social and sustainable city, for affordable housing, good health care, loving care, good education. Vote for us. Vote for me. Number 2.
Great. Kitty, why should we vote for BBA?
Well, PvdA is there for all the Amstelveeners. We're the biggest independent local party, and we have expats on our list. We want people really to get involved in their community and feel at home, and that goes for everybody, international, Dutch, everybody.
Fabulous. And Floor, D66, why should we vote for you?
Yeah, D66, the Democrat 66, by heart and by value, we're an international party because one of our values is think and trade internationally. And locally, we say for a free, promising and sustainable city, and the 3 topics I mentioned at first, the climate, the housing and education are our main focal points. Thank you.
It's so disappointing. They have print for a sustainable party.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you don't reach everyone by internet, but I do like that comment. I hope in 4 years we will not need this anymore.
Kees.
Yeah, the VVD, we have 10 seats in our local parliament, and for many years we are quite a big party here, and many years also the biggest party. We're proud of that. So I think we do something good. And Amstelveen is still growing. People are happy here. The quality of life is extremely high here. If you look to any rankings in any magazine, we always in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're proud of it. We want to cherish it. We're happy with the international community. When we're looking for a mayor, the first sentence is you have to adapt to the expat community. So VVD is strong and keep us stronger, and we will deliver. Yeah, we want to make people happy here.
Thank you very much. So, folks, you heard it here. Go out and vote. You can start voting as of the 14th of March, which is a Monday, right through the 16th of March, which is a Wednesday, till 9 o'clock in the evening. You should get your stempas or your voting ballot in the mail. If you haven't, feel free to call the municipality to ask where it is. It's really important. Like I said, there are 186 candidates, 12 parties to choose from. You heard from 4 tonight. Go out, research. What other parties are there? What does it mean for you? I mean, what more can we do? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, to the candidates. They're all very open to receiving your questions, having a dialogue. I mean, I'm looking forward to the results. I want to, as a concluding remark, I really want to thank all of you for coming here tonight from your busy schedules. I think this was a fantastic discussion, and I really look forward to welcoming you again.
Thank you very much
To
for
come back.
inviting
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah.
Looking forward to coming back. Thank
All right.
you.
Till next time, guys, you'll see me cooking hutspot. Take care.